Bucyrus City Joint Regular Committee meetings for Thursday, February 21st, 2019. Members present are Mark McKeever, Kevin Myers, Bruce Truca, Monica Sack, myself, and Andrew Schock. I will call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. First up, we have public participation. Anybody that would like to address council, please step to the podium, state your name and address. None? We'll get started with committee business. First up, we have Economic Development Committee. I will call that to order at 6:01 p.m. And we have Board of Zoning Appeals reappointment. We have one member, Rodney Stride, whose term expires on December 31st of 2018. Mr. Stride has expressed his ability and want to stay on board. So at this point, Madam President, do we just need to have a motion to send this to council for a full vote?
Yeah.
I make a motion.
Motion by Mr. McKeever. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Sack. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. I will call I will adjourn Economic Development at 6:03 p.m.
Looks like I call Platting order at 6:03 p.m. All right, it's zoning appeals notification protocol. And I do have a person out in the audience who would be interested to address his opinion on notifying the public on zoning changes.
Okay, we need your name and address, please.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. McKeever. He says, I'm Fred Miller, 785 Arrowhead Drive. On the corner of Kerstetter and Southern, across from the driveway at Wayside Chapel, there was a home that had an addition added to it. I saw that and was aware of it. And then just a month or so later, on Arrowhead and Kerstetter, another home had an addition. I started to put the foundation, and I thought, I need to ask some questions. That's in, actually on Arrowhead Drive. And the addition had changed the character of Arrowhead. And I understand that the variance, a waiver had been granted and had been properly done. And the neighbors in a radius of 200 feet were notified and approved. I'm here to urge this committee to look at that notification method that you are using and try to expand upon that. I know that the legal notice in the paper is a minimum required, and if that had been done, that's kind of an archaic method of notifying people in this day and age. If there may be a better way that neighbors could be notified of a change in the neighborhood, change in the character of the neighborhood. I don't know what suggestions to give you. Facebook page, Twitter, phone call, let's look the paper in with the water bill and say, hey, we're going to tell you that. People ask me for a waiver, we'd like your comments on it.
All right, anybody else have?
Actually, I was going to open it up,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, to Mr. Hill. He's actually came up with some ideas today and some things, so. Thank you, Fred.
This is our zoning administrator, Randy.
Yes. And I had heard about the referral to this committee. So I just did a little bit of looking and kind of put together some information that I thought would be useful to help you guys make the decision. I don't think it's a bad idea to extend, the area that we solicit feedback to. But in looking at it, standards varied from similar sized communities. Some of them required 300 feet, some of them required 200 feet. Others required that you simply notify neighboring property owners that shared property lines or were directly across the street from the subject property. The feedback that we typically receive generated from our solicitation within 200 feet would have not led me to believe that we need to expand that area. I would say that the typical feedback for any given case could probably be around 10%, and a lot of times those are simply phone calls stating no objection. If we would have received an inordinate amount of feedback from that zone, then I would have said, yeah, we probably should expand that. But I'm not against it. The things you would have to consider is where do you stop if we are extending that buffer zone? Where does that stop? And if we extend it to 300, is someone at 350 feel left out? If we extend it to 400, is someone at 450 left out? And then you also have to consider that along with that, you would have to consider an increase to the fee for a BZA application, because along with sending out more notices would increase the postage, the paper, the manpower, the envelopes, all that good stuff. So if that is something you want to entertain, certainly look at increasing the fee for an application, particularly in the older, more developed, more densely populated areas of town, your R3 zoning district, for example. You've got many structures in close proximity, and as soon as you increase that buffer zone, you increase the notification area by quite a bit. But I think he mentioned an alternative solution, and Rob might want to speak on this. We spoke about it, and he said that certain communities will use signs that are posted in the applicant's yard. However you want to go about that, they have to post a sign in the yard for 14 days. It gives the information they're requesting. It gives my phone number so they can call and get information about the variance request. I don't know if Rob had anything to add to that, but.
Yeah, one of the things that a lot of communities have went to, because, you know, the newspapers are an archaic way of doing things, but it's what the state makes us do so. A lot of communities have went to a zoning sign, and we've kind of adopted those in property maintenance a little bit. When we have some condemnation proceedings, we have a big orange sign that we use now. And those signs are big, show what it is, and have specific information, when the hearing is, who to contact for more information, what type of request has been made. And a lot of them, I've seen in some communities, as we looked at, even had like case numbers, essentially, that were on it, that you could go to the city's website and download the application, and see the application. The PDF was uploaded to the website. I could go in and see if I care about it or not. So that's pretty simple, and it expands the notification, not just to 100, 200, 400 feet, but businesses that may be driving by, or people that may drive by, because somebody may be impacted or want to give input that's maybe not necessarily a neighbor, but is otherwise impacted. So that's maybe something that we might want to consider. The impact of doing more notifications internally is significant. I mean, you got Landon, and doing the letters and getting all the addresses and the notifications. It's a time-consuming process. Putting the sign out, that's something that's a little bit more on the property owner. They come in, they get the sign. We can have the signs pre-printed and just, fill it in with a permanent marker. We can add the cost of that sign to the application fee, probably $5 a sign or something. I mean, that's what those little signs are. And then uploading the application to the website, people can go right in and see exactly what's being applied for. Or you can call in if they don't want to use the computer, call Landon, and he can tell them. Maybe a better way, maybe an easy and convenient way to get a wider net of notification to the people that are going to have some concern. People that drive by, people that walk the neighborhood, whatever it is. So that's trying to think of ways that both increase notification, don't increase the workload unnecessarily. That may be one thing to consider. And a lot of communities have went to that. Communities I've lived in before, they've done it, and I pulled a couple pictures of other communities that do it. And it's that time of year. They're campaign size.
That's what I was gonna.
They basically have city and what and when and all that. So it's right out there for everybody.
Yeah, and, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, did that development have any, that you're aware of, did that development have any restrictions on what could and couldn't be done? Like rules as far as like if you built a house in that development, you couldn't put a shed in the backyard or anything like that when it was originally started?
A shed, fence, pools, none of those are have a deed restriction on it.
Okay.
Only the setbacks that are required by the zoning.
Okay.
Yeah, which they were, like you said, they were granted the variance to extend 5 foot further south towards Arrowhead Drive was the variance that they were granted.
So but I drove by this evening to take a look and I couldn't drive your driveway. The addition is much more than 5 foot. It's-
Correct, but they could have extended to the point where they were 25 feet off of the front yard lot line, and this extended to 20 feet. So they could have built an addition that would have been smaller without any kind of involvement of a variance, simply a building and zoning permit. But because they extended that additional 5 feet, or they wanted that additional 5 feet, they had to get the variance.
Couple of questions. First, if we were to go to a sign, like Mr. Ratliff suggests, which I think is an absolute phenomenal idea, do we still have to mail out? Or does the state law require us to mail out, or would that be a law that we could change internally in the
Yeah,
city?
the state law does not require that notification other than the publication. We can modify our law to however we want, as long as we're providing some public notice. We would want to, section 114706 here, which is the notice of public hearing, we would fashion that. We can leave that alone and then just add a section to it that you also have to post the sign and how long the sign has to be posted prior to the hearing and how much you have to pay for the sign. 'Cause,
Sure.
you know, they're probably gonna be $5 or something, I would think.
Yeah.
You know, we'd order them in bulk. And,
Okay, and then if we were to make that change and go to the sign, is there a way, and I don't know if this has been thought about or talked about, how do I make sure, what if I'm wanting to put up something that I know my neighbors aren't gonna like? Who decides that it was conspicuously placed versus inconspicuously placed? Am I putting it right in front of my car, parking my car in front of it so you can't see the sign? Am I taking it down during the day so that my neighbor, I mean, we have to think about those things too.
I would say in such an instance, that's why we still have the notification
Yeah.
through the mail for that buffer zone of 200 feet. Property owners within 200 feet, that would take care of that issue, and then the sign would take care of broadcasting the message to a wider
I suppose we could even put in the letter that, you know, the sign's required to be placed, please let us know if you don't see it during
Yeah,
the time.
sure.
well, and one other suggestion on the installation of the sign as well as
I could do it.
landing.
Yeah.
gear. You know,
And then, my last question in relation to that is, I don't know if it's possible, you know, for us to set precedent or tell the administration how to do things, but, you know, utilizing our Facebook page, for instance, I'd like to see that be a standard thing that's done every time so that the residents know that, you know, they're going to see that on our Facebook page amongst seeing the sign, because, you know, if Mr. Miller, you probably leave a majority of the time one way or the other. Maybe you don't, but what if you live further closer down to Southern, maybe you're only gonna go out one way and you're never gonna go out the other way. So maybe you're not gonna see the sign, but you still, you know, care about it. So like you mentioned, it's having it up on the Facebook page as well, so then you can drive down and take a look. I like that. I don't know if we can regulate that or if that's just something we just take care of.
we can, we can require that it be, you know, publicized on the city's website, the city, any other city social media. We have a property maintenance page that we try to use, you know, it can be published there.
I would entertain creating some kind of zoning social media page to advertise them if it's necessary. I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
All good ideas.
The only other suggestion I was gonna make is that I think, you know, if you're mailing the 200-foot radius, you also have to create a radius of, you know, whether that comment by a objector I mean, you don't wanna just limit that to the entire city, or you might, maybe 350 is the radius that you'll consider comments from people within a certain radius. Because if somebody, on the north end of town comes to that meeting and complains about something going on in the Arrowhead subdivision, I don't think that should carry any weight in that type of hearing, because it's really not affecting them. So to me, you gotta have a radius of, we're only gonna accept
You wouldn't,
disagreements within
Yeah.
a certain area around that house.
you wouldn't be able to limit the public input.
Well, I'm not saying limit the input, but
Right. It's
the consideration of the input.
Sure, well, and that's where the board sits in judgment and has their ability to exercise their judgment. They can use their discretion as what weight they put to anything.
Sure.
That's where that comes in.
With my comment, with my experience being on that, we do listen to some of the people that come in, but some of them we also take with a grain of salt, or what they're complaining about has nothing to do with what the applicant is trying to apply for. But then we do listen to them if it does, it could affect the value of the property too, so.
Is it possible, I like this idea about putting it in with utility. Is that a possible way to save on some postage and do things in that way?
It would save on postage, but the manpower needed to get that into those bills, it would be problematic, because those are done off-site.
Oh,
So you'd have to pull, and if you were pulling just from a specific section of, you'd have to pull all those out. I think you'd find that.
That would be, I think that'd be a lot more. I think a lot easier if we put it on a city website and possibly the
sign's a must.
and the sign. I think those could be the,
And I like what Mr. Ratliff mentioned about the sign, giving it a case number or something. Giving a way for somebody actually to learn what the plan is.
Let me ask this question then, because we're having that issue with maybe, is the sign visible, is it up enough? Should we and could we make the sign a 30-day instead of a 14-day?
it can be determined however we want. I mean, how long do we usually have those, Landon?
I believe the notification is required 10 days prior to the hearing. And a lot of times, when an application comes in, it's likely that meeting might even occur before 30 days elapses from the time that they submit the application. I typically tell people it takes about a month, but if the requests are reasonable and it's simple enough to get the packets and everything together, a lot of the times those can come together quicker than that 30-day mark.
Because sometimes they're already pretty far along before somebody has said to them, you need to go up to City Hall. So a lot of them just go, and then show up here, and there have been a few that have already been accomplished prior to getting their variance. So
And that wasn't always the fault of the person, it was the fault of the contractor.
I will say that we're at 10 days now. If we went to 14, that would guarantee you're going to get 2 weekends in there, which is going to, for the sign purposes, is going to get a lot of you drive-by and that sort of thing.
As much visibility with the sign as possible and as long, so that way, being like Mr. Myers pointed out, for the Arrowhead example, if you constantly come in and out of Kerstetter, you're never going to go down to the Southern Avenue, so you might not see it down there, so.
The other question, Fred, do you have any other inputs? I mean, have any other ideas?
Oh, yes.
Well, please.
I'm just waiting for a chance to interject my comments. I've got several questions that have come to mind listening to this discussion. I guess number one, I'd like to make this comment that a waiver is necessary at times because you can't always plan for everything that might come up with the homeowner, with the home, the land, the neighbors, and sometimes things do need to be changed. But on the other hand, the zoning has been approved by city council. The city council is elected by the residents of the city. And if you only have one or two people within a 200-foot radius making a judgment call on whether a waiver should be granted, that's not fair to the rest of the people that have abided by those zoning regulations. A couple questions for you, Rob. You'd said that the sign part would have like a case number, and a person could refer to the city website and get more information. Is that currently available now?
No, and so that would be an improvement, so that, you know, you could go on and see if it's somebody's just, if it's something that's really important, or if it's somebody just, you know, putting up a fence, or, you know, you would be the judge of how important it is to you, whether you need to do something. And we would have the phone number on there as well, I think, so that somebody could just call to find out if they wanted to do it that way.
So the application or the description of the changes that are being asked to be made are not available online now?
No, they are available here, so anybody can come up and see them, but they're not available online right now.
Okay. You have to call and talk to the zoning engineer to get that information.
Right, but if we do it with the sign, then we can link it to that, and I think that'd be easy for everybody.
So that alone is going to take more time and manpower. Another question, the application, there's a fee involved, and that fee is supposed to cover the cost of notification.
How much is that, Landon?
It's $40.
So it's nothing atrocious, but, I mean, it's enough to cover some costs. Something that maybe we also need to take into consideration here is that I think we ought to run this past the Board of Zoning Appeals, the people that are on that are on there, and get their input into this too, since they're the ones that are basically going to be dealing with this. So I don't know when your next meeting is scheduled.
March 5th.
Pardon me?
March 5th.
March 5th?
March 5th.
Okay.
4 o'clock.
Okay, so we can, those are always published, they're published downstairs, and you do public notices on those too, correct? Okay.
Yes.
So that is in the, that is in the paper, but, and you send that to, like Crawford County Now?
Yeah.
So they get it, so it's on the radio then, and if we make a place then, is it, I think it should be on the website, shouldn't it, when the meetings are?
That I'm not certain.
I don't know that that's the case.
Okay,
I don't know.
and do we take?
It should be.
It
They're
should
on
be,
access.
it is on access too?
When the
Okay.
meetings are, yeah.
So for those that have Spectrum in 1021, they can, it would be on there when there's a meeting being scheduled. Okay.
All right. Maybe table this and get some more information and try to, after we talk to the
Get some
BZA,
feedback from them too, yeah.
and come up with some other suggestions on, like to have you come to the next meeting we have. It'll be the 7th. We can discuss it again on March 7th.
The 5th and the 7th, two separate meetings.
Correct. The BZA meeting, we have city council that night, then we'll have our committee meeting on Thursday, and we'll discuss it again on that Thursday at 6 o'clock.
6 p.m. Thank you, Mark. On the calendar.
Okay. All right, if there's no other discussion, I'll adjourn at 6:24.
Thanks, Landon.
Yes.
Thank
you, guys.
Mr. Miller, you don't have to stay if you don't want to, okay? It's up to you.
Carol said you would have, what we're ready to talk about 7.
No. Then you won't have to set the table.
Either way, do this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call service to order at 6:25 p.m. I don't know who might want to speak to this. WPCLF loan
Okay,
application.
the third page back in your packet for this one.
Yes.
Todd, you wanna?
Yeah, this came from Bristol Carroll today. It was sent via email to the administration. The city was awarded a 0% loan fund for multiple CSO projects in 2017. This resolution, and you have the draft resolution here, for council is to actually apply for and receive 0% loan funds for Group 1 design and Group 2 design and construction. Overall, the 0% loan is multi-phased. Future resolutions will be requested for Group 1 construction, Whetstone Street design and construction, and for Group 3 design and construction, as each of those projects are planned through 2019.
So then this basically gets us started with 0% loans for the different phases of the the EPA project, correct?
EPA.
EPA, is that what I said?
EPA.
Yeah, well, close, both vowels, what do you want? Okay. So this is something that we need to file, then you've got the actual piece of legislation there that they want us to file to be able to continue with this.
This strictly is CSOs.
Well, all of it involves the CSOs, that's the idea of the whole separation thing, is to have fewer and fewer overflows of the CSOs.
But does this have to deal with the seven-year plan then? I mean, so
Yeah.
this falls into the first $7.
Yeah, for 7-year plan, yes.
Okay. I mean, so I mean, we're not out any farther than 7 years.
No.
This application, okay, or loan. Go ahead.
We don't know though how much.
We'll have to, like they say, we'll have to approve this as we go.
Okay.
Okay, they will be asking for, future resolutions will be requested.
So in essence, it's gonna be as needed.
Yeah, this gets our foot in
They're
the
not just
door,
throwing us 10 million.
Good.
Okay, I got
if they only did.
it. Well, I don't want to borrow more than we can pay back, which is why I was
No,
asking.
this gets us in the door to be eligible, we're eligible, so
Perfect.
this is the one where we say,
Your
yay.
application fee.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're looking for a motion to
I did.
Yes.
approve a resolution for council to apply for and receive the 0% loan funds for Group 1 design and Group 2 design and construction.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. With nothing further to come before us, how's 628 sound?
Okay.
And I will call health and safety to order at 6:28. First item up is the Ohio Fire Code update. Mr. Ratliff.
Thank you, sir. When we last met, we talked about the carbon monoxide detector legislation, and in the process of working on that, we discovered that for whatever reason, our ordinance had not been updated by our ordinance updating company, whatever you call it. And we are still using the 2007 Ohio Fire Code. There is a new 2017 Ohio Fire Code, and I request that we update to that 2017 Ohio Fire Code 1, because there are significant changes that, and a lot of those went into effect in 2019 that are retroactive to existing structures. And some of that a lot of that deals with carbon monoxide detectors and smoke detectors and rental properties and that sort of stuff. So good first step for keeping us up to date and for ultimately getting to the carbon monoxide legislation eventually.
So eventually, you still want to add additional legislation to it.
Yeah.
Your thought is that we want to take care of pushing this forward now and then adding that piece later.
Yeah, first things first, getting our fire code updated.
I can't disagree with you. So I'll ask if we have a motion to send this on. Oh, go ahead.
So this is the 2017 Ohio Fire Code, is basically an update of the 2007. Were there any other updates between 07 and 17?
You know what, I honestly don't know. I do,
Every 3 or 5 years,
I mean, I
they
figured
do
it.
an update.
yeah. and-
I'd say it's every 5 and 7 to 17, but we probably missed one there. And
Yeah.
well,
And normally, a lot of these ones that are scheduled regular updates, the coding agency does for us, and for whatever reason, this was just happening.
And in the 17 fire code, do you know in terms of the language around carbon monoxide detectors specifically, does it state just that the household should have a carbon monoxide detector, or is there not really any language in there at
No.
all, or?
There is some, and I didn't print out the language, but there is some specific language in there with respect to carbon monoxide detectors in rental properties and new construction, and making it retroactive in multi-story things, not really anything that we have here,
Yeah.
but apartment, towers and those sorts of things. But we'll kind of detail that when we put together our carbon monoxide legislation, because a lot of it we want to just kind of refer to, make sure you follow state code.
Well, and I'm thinking ahead too on this carbon monoxide detector question, to say, we had a lot of landlords come in the last time there was a, apartments related issue or a rental homes related issue. Are we looking, are you thinking that we should have legislation that requires the landlords to provide those, or what were we thinking there? Because I'm just thinking of the landlord who has 100 units, and, there's a cost involved in that, but also their ability to, keep up with each and every one of those. Are they keeping their carbon monoxide detectors active and in working order? Is that kind of the direction you're looking to go on that, or?
Yeah, the two things. One, the sample legislation that we presented from, how was that? Troy. Their legislation required that an apartment be outfitted with carbon monoxide detectors, but then it placed the burden on the tenant to make sure that, batteries and worked and all that sort of stuff.
It did not, you said?
It did. It placed
It
the
did.
burden on the tenant to make
Okay.
sure it works. Just
Okay.
on move-in date, there had to be one there.
I see.
The fire code, which, that's been adopted by the state, that does have those retroactive applications for housing units, is applicable to those landlords right now, whether they know it or not.
Right.
And whether or not we upgrade ours or not. So, the state code always supersedes us when they do legislate. So those rules are in effect for them anyways. And the purpose of this would just be to update our code so that our references to the state code are to the most current state code for anything that we do that does reference. And we have several places in our code that references comply with the Ohio Fire Code.
I'm just envisioning questions from landlords as to who's responsible for providing the carbon monoxide detector, and
Right.
maybe getting the word out there on how that's
Well,
would potentially be handled, so that there's not confusion around that question.
yeah, and phase two of this would be to get some drafted legislation in conjunction with the fire department and have them bring it back to you so that you can kind of talk about it and hash it out and get public input and all those sorts of things. And that's something that we'll work on with the fire department, but this was just kind of the first step in that, and we noticed we were so far late.
So I don't know. Are you looking for a motion then to update our fire code to the 2017 Ohio Fire Code?
Yes.
Yeah, just a
I'll
motion
make
to
that
update that
motion.
section.
I'll second that.
Okay, have a first, have a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion passes. And then, like you said, you'll work with the fire department to work on the next
Yes.
step of changes. All right, and then next up is repeal replacement billet employee manpower. Again, Mr. Rabbit, thank you.
No.
It is that.
The service director is sick,
Okay.
and that's why he's not here this evening.
I know that this involved adding part-time for the police department to help fill the position of dispatcher.
It did, and we had talked about just kind of making multiple changes at one time so that we didn't have to keep coming back and the multiple costs. I talked to Chief Kepke late this afternoon about what his time frame was on this, because the most important part is the dispatchers. And he's got one or two that he may be looking to replace with some part-time. He's looking at saving quite a bit of money and having some flexibility with the part-time dispatchers so that he doesn't have to put officers at that desk and kind of waste officer time. But exact numbers and how many, and I don't really you know, that's Jeff's province.
I think unfortunately, we're just gonna have to wait for 2 more weeks until we can get those questions answered, to know exactly where they're going to go. I will say that, you know, as far as, you know, if he thinks he wants to hire 2 or 3 now, I would say let's, you know, give this the ability to hire 5, 6, 8, 10, whatever, because we know that he's only gonna hire what his budget's gonna allow anyway. But that would keep us from having to come back and make additional changes as future full-time people may retire, and we want to see more part-time.
And that's an ongoing problem with our Manpower Billet is it's, we kind of bare bones our employee staff, and so it doesn't give us a lot of flexibility. We gotta keep coming back, and 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, whatever it was, I think we changed it 4 or 5 times. We spent a lot of money for no real reason.
Any other questions or concerns on that at this point? All right, is there anything else to cover for this committee? If not, we will recess the health and safety at 6:36 p.m. Second,
Here's
Jerry.
it you.
Mr. Wireball.
Yeah.
He's selling Girl Scout cookies.
All right, I'd like to go ahead and call public lands and buildings to order at what time?
6:36.
6:36. Okay, city parking lots.
I think Mr. Wireball's the one that put this.
No,
Keeper did.
I did.
Okay, and
I'm gonna bring it up. Like I said before, especially city parking lot number 3, number 5.
Okay, 3 is what, okay.
Number 3 is behind Crazy Fox and Dillinger's. And it's the parking lot adjacent to them off of Poplar and the access off of, from the northwest corner of Washington Square.
Okay.
It's the first parking lot, not the next 2, the closest one to Dillinger's and the parking lot at number 2, 3, and 4 specifically. I could really take care of unloading those.
2 is Baker's, right?
2 is the one adjacent to Baker's, and, well, Baker's owns all the property around it. So,
have there been any conversations yet with the administration, with Bakers?
I don't know if there's been specific conversations. I know that interest had been expressed about, you know, what our intent was with that and with their expansion, but I don't know the substance of any conversation.
Karen, I really think number 2 and number 3, definitely, we need to possibly send it to the CIC and have it so that they can negotiate with the adjacent landowners to take ownership of the property. Take the burden off of, because the taxpayers are paying for a property, especially number 2 parking lot, that's benefiting one business. Majority of the time, in my opinion, I'm saying, I believe it's benefiting one business 90% of the time.
Well, it should.
It shouldn't, but it does. Before they bought the other parking lot, they took up 3 spaces with dumpsters, and they had 2 parking signs sitting there that says for their delivery drivers. And they tried to have me move my vehicle, and I said, no, this is a city-owned parking lot. Besides that, and that was not the management, that was the employees, so I'm not saying management. And in Dillon, in the city parking lot number 3, there's not much business there that it's gonna benefit us owning other than those two businesses right there. It can benefit the Horseshoe possibly. I don't know of any other business that it could benefit, maybe the church on the other side of,
They
Poplar.
actually went out of business, their food.
Okay, I didn't know if it was still there or not.
I don't think so.
So they're
But
basically.
there's a barber shop there.
That's a little bit.
Yeah, when he feels like it.
But I'm saying, that there's not much there, but needs that parking lot, other than those two businesses, in my opinion.
I'm just gonna interject on, especially parking lot number 3, just as an example. If one of those 3 downtown bars is the winning owner of that parking lot, and that's parking for 3 different establishments there, if they decide that they want to take their private parking lot and put up a sign that says, parking for bar A, when bar B and C also use that to pass, parking for bar A only, all violators will be towed. And if they supervise that lot and have a tow truck sitting on the street, ready to go, they basically just locked down the downtown bar crowd in terms of parking near to the bars. So I think that presents a real difficult challenge. So if you start with this precedent of, we're gonna donate the parking lot to the CIC, which we have to do, then negotiate, you know, to me, and Rob, maybe you can speak to the precedent issue, but if we do it one way on a certain parking lot, does that then open up the possibility of, if we go to sell any other parking lot or make any changes related to the other parking lots, we have to follow the same approach in how we handle it?
No, I don't think it would have any precedential value, how you dispose of any one piece of property. You know, I think you could transfer to CIC if you wanted to. You know, your recommendations as to what you'd like to see happen with them, but
Sure.
ultimately CIC would make its own determinations.
Yeah.
What they do, and then, you know, if they sold them, you know, if you donated to CIC for $1, then CIC sells it for whatever, and that money would, you know, profit, proceeds,
Sure.
would flow back to the city.
I'm just concerned about the control issues related to these parking lots, because, you know, you could have one business, approach the city requesting to buy that parking lot with all of the other businesses in the area not knowing that that negotiation's going on. They acquire access, exclusive access to a parking lot, and the other businesses might be standing there saying, why were we left out of this conversation? And now parking spaces that could have been available to everyone in a particular area and everyone's business in a particular area now becomes shut down. I mean, I think the current setup, while it leaves us holding the bill for all of the paving and supervising the condition of those lots, we run the risk of having some business owners being left in the lurch if we sell the lots off to one business exclusively. That's kind of what I see.
I will point out that it's not maybe, you don't have to have all or nothing consideration, you don't have to sell, you can also lease. Just throw that out there, just, doesn't have to be sold, you can also lease.
Something, my opinion is, when we as the city are paying for a parking lot that 80% of the people don't even use other than those patrons of those businesses. And the businesses are not footing any of the bill for maintaining that parking lot, as well as some businesses like down in Delaware. There are businesses that have parking lots that are exclusively for them. And you pay to park there for that business, or as well as in Columbus or wherever else. I mean, mainly the biggest one I'm concerned about is parking lot number 2 on North Sandusky. That 90% of the business, in my opinion, is going to one business. The parking lot is being used 90% of the time and for that business only. I don't see any other businesses there that benefit from it. And I mean, we don't have, Napa doesn't get people park at their parking lot at the back corner or on the street. The jewelry store, Lay's, and the arcade, and Edward Jones, and I don't think there's anything else there other than Subway, but they have their own parking lot.
Yeah, but people will walk across the street if they're parking, so I don't see that we want to get rid of any parking lots. The city of Bucyrus is the economic driver to help the downtown businesses. It's not to do away with the parking. We're supposed to help the businesses that are there already. Now, I don't want to see us to get rid of something that, I wouldn't mind seeing us say, hey, you got to take the signs down that says that this is for carry out only, this parking spot. I mean, that is our city parking lot. You know, I think that's a misrepresentation of our parking lot. Having a sign that says carry out only. I mean, that's one spot that's eliminated, and same with the dumpsters. Maybe if they're private dumpsters, then maybe we should enforce it and move them dumpsters out of there.
And they did move the dumpsters from that property onto their property. But on the one at number 3 parking lot, those dumpsters are sitting there, taking up, I know at least 3 parking spaces between the two businesses.
There again, you know, maybe we could have the administration talk to them, and say, hey, you know, these are city parking lots, you know, we're trying to promote the businesses downtown, you know, maybe we could work something out that you could move your dumpster somewhere. No.
I think that's a good recommendation.
The businesses on Poplar Street, those sidewalks are extremely wide, and when my mom and dad were on the other side, we had a cutout made that you could put a dumpster there. And, I mean, it was at our expense, but I mean, still, if they really want to put the dumpsters there, it would be convenient for the garbage people to come and just pull right in and back up. And
Well, I understand we need to do something about this because
Go ahead.
I don't think it.
Another possible suggestion too, maybe you lease space for dumpsters to be placed on the lot, you know, and make an exclusive space within the lot for, say, you know, downtown, the bar, you know, bar A or bar B, to have their dumpster placed on the city lot, but then maybe you put a charge on that if that's gonna sit there all year round, or in the parking lot next to Baker's, if it's going to sit on the city lot. But that's a decision the city can make to, you know, to do that or not to do that. But to me, like what Bruce is saying, the businesses are paying taxes, you know, and so, yes, while there is one lot that benefits by the proximity of that city parking lot a great deal, the parking being there also frees up other parking spaces along the street that wouldn't have otherwise been there. So, you know, and in a setup where, let's say we auctioned off that parking space, you know, some other corporate pizza giant could come in and decide to buy it and, you know, just take up downtown parking space just to, you know, create a problem for a downtown pizza restaurant. So, you know, I think, my view, keep them city parking lots. Yes, there's some that are gonna benefit greater than others, but like I said, they are all tax-paying businesses down there, and that's part of what we use our tax dollars for.
yes,
Mr. Ratliff, is there any negotiation that can occur before a property is put into the CSE? On what if, would you do this if we did this type of a thing?
Yeah, I mean.
The reason I ask
administration
is
or the council.
possibly could, I don't know if that's the administration that does that, if it's the CIC that does that, but could they potentially, so we're talking about bakers here as the business, could they potentially say, hey, you purchased the lot that's parallel to the railroad tracks, but now you purchased the diner building that you want to turn into a parking lot. I think they want to be contiguous. Would they swap us? And then we would take the parking lot that is closest to the tracks, therefore we're not losing any of our downtown parking, but that allows them the control of everything contiguous with their building.
These conversations can certainly be had.
Who gets that rolling? Would that be
The
the
administration.
administration? Quite possibly, we could suggest to them to ask that question.
I think that is a fair route for everybody, us sitting here and throwing out ideas and everything else, we need to get the people that are, the actual impact is gonna be on those businesses.
I
Get
agree.
them in here and having a conversation.
I agree.
All right, Bruce, I'm gonna ask my question. That's,
I guess my biggest question is when, and I'm just gonna use parking lot 3 for example, I really don't understand why we're making such a gripe about these parking spots right behind the business, and whether or not we would sell the lot to one or all or whatever, because, I mean, the size of that lot, the sheer size of that parking lot, I don't see how if we take that section of it away, that all 3 of those bars are gonna lose their parking, because there are plenty more parking spaces that are not occupied in the hours in which the people are at the bars, because the businesses are closed. So you go down the rest of that strip of that parking lot, you got the New Day Ministry, which they hardly ever use any of that back parking lot. I'm pretty sure DigiPrint doesn't have a bunch of cars parked out back behind their business. I mean, that lot is so large in size.
No,
Yeah.
it's only the lot adjacent.
That's
not the
what I'm
other
saying. That's what I'm saying though. So by us selling that one lot, there's still 2 other lots worth of parking there that are
Those are
open.
private property.
it's private.
Those are private
Those are
property.
private.
That was owned, the one by the track is owned by the building that used to be Struvel's.
Which is the New Day Ministries, and I would highly doubt they would come out and have cars towed, being that they're not there after 5 PM when the bar's open
But
anyway.
it's still, that's private property, so we can't tell them what to do with it.
I'm not telling them what to do with it, but if somebody parks there, I don't see them having somebody towed right away either. But, to me, it's just that, and ultimately, I look at it from the standpoint of, if we're gonna make the gripe to keep this parking lot, then after being in this parking lot and being around this parking lot as much as I was over the past summer, and then seeing the issues that I saw at the end of last winter, we better fix it up then. We better spend some money on it, because that parking lot is in dire need of repair. It's an unsafe parking lot when it gets water laying in it and then ice formed, and it's an ice skating rink out back there that is just a slip and fall. So if we're gonna keep it, we better fix it.
Yeah, Kurt.
The 2 parking lots that are private property, you can't bank on those always being allowed to park there. Those properties could change ownership at any time, and the new owner come in and say, I'm not letting anybody park in there. And if you sold City Lot 3 to one business, and then those other ones change hands, you're gonna be in a real situation real fast.
Anybody else?
I think we need to have a conversation with the administration.
Yeah.
To look into it first, is that what you're looking for?
Sure.
Talk with the people that are involved.
But this is why I'm not gonna go anywhere else with it.
Okay,
That's fine, I just want to discuss it again, but.
Yeah, I'm gonna recess.
6:54.
Okay. 6:54.
I will call finance to order at 6:54 PM. First thing is the WPCLF loan application. This went through service committee earlier. So we just also need to approve resolution to apply for the water pollution control loan fund loan application.
So moved.
Second.
Kevin, second by Andy. All in favor?
Aye.
did you vote, Madam Chair?
Yes, aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, and the, next thing is the repeal replacement of Billet and employee Manpower, and that is placed on hold. So we get more information about that. So, I will, anything else for finance? No. I'll recess that at 6:55. Do we have any public participation? None? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Doug first, Kevin second. We will adjourn at 6:55 PM.
Thank you.
I need a signature.